Today's just the start of the Big 12 and Power 5 talk to come. Listen to JJ and Alex Monday on your drive home. Afternoons from 3 to 6 on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Welcome back. It is First and 12 right here on KSL News Radio. Alex, Kirry, and Mitch Harper are bringing you this week's edition. If you can believe it, we're in week 13 of the college football season, Mitch. And well, really, it's weird because week 13 never really existed back in the day, but now we're still 2 games left. What are we going to be in then? Week 16 by the time the conference championships come around? So, I mean, I guess
15.
I guess it's good because, you know, we're getting our exercise on going through this list, and we always complain about how short the season is. So a double bye week season, I'll deal with it if we're able to get ourselves into week 15 by the end of the season. But let's kick things off here. An extended part of the conversation of the College Football Playoff Committee and the releasing of this week's rankings and where the Big 12 teams land and why they landed there, and more importantly, why are some of the teams in front of them right now in the rankings. And let's kick it all off right here with our Big 12 Sound Roundup.
Big 12 Sound Roundup.
Check 1, 2.
The best bites, cheap shots, and excuses from Saturday's postgame news conferences.
So for this week's Sound Roundup, Alex, we have to go to the phone line. And no one's on the phone right now, but every week the College Football Playoff Committee, after they're done on ESPN, they put together a old school phone teleconference. Press *1 to ask a question.
I love it. And I just imagine the chairman sitting in that boardroom with that, that old school phone that has like the 5 different speakers in different directions. Yep. I'll take your questions right now, as he sits back and eats this piece of pie that he got after the committee was done with their selection. I can already picture all of this.
And obviously a new committee chairman, the Big 12's rep, Mac Rhodes, he is now no longer part of the committee chairman. He's no longer the AD right now at Baylor. He's on a leave. So he leaves the College Football Playoff Committee, and now steps in is Arkansas AD Hunter Yurachek. And I hopped on that teleconference with Hunter Yurachek to just ask him, why is BYU, a 9-1 BYU, behind 2 lost teams such as Oklahoma, Notre Dame, and Alabama? And this is what he had to say.
I think it is really the way they looked in that game against Texas Tech. They were dominated on both sides of the ball in that game against Texas Tech. And then you look at their wins. They have a win over Utah, who's ranked 13th, but then their other wins are against that we would consider quality wins are against an unranked Iowa State team, Arizona, and East Carolina. And then you look at a 2-loss Alabama team that's got wins against number 4 Georgia, number 14 Vanderbilt, number 21 Missouri, and number 20 Tennessee. Notre Dame's got a win over 15th ranked Southern Cal, and then last week a dominating win on the road at Pitt, who is ranked. And then Oklahoma has wins at number 18 Michigan, number 20 Tennessee, and at number 10 Alabama. So I think it's just the number of quality wins that are with those 2 lost teams ahead of them, and then how they looked in that game 2 weeks ago in Texas Tech.
What do you think of that, Alex, that explanation?
It's hard because to do the – well, and then they lost to an unranked Iowa State team, which at the time they played them were a ranked Iowa State team. And then later in the call, I think when he starts to do some of that explanation of how strong some of these teams are, he'll mention a ranked team at the moment that team beat them. Yep. And they're not ranked anymore. But you see how it's hard because, look, and Yurachek's doing a tough job because he was asked to do this week. It's like, hey, man, it's not just about being the committee chair. You have to go around. You have to do the one where you explain on TV to Reese Davis why they made the decisions that they did. You have to come on there, and a guy named Mitch Harper is going to press *1 to make sure he can get an answer or a question in. And these are tough questions to ask. It does feel so much like a weird double standard because, look, Texas A&M is 10-0. And I'm not going to say Texas A&M shouldn't be where they're at because they're 10-0. But their SEC schedule has them avoiding Oklahoma, Alabama, Georgia, and Ole Miss.
And they needed a 28-point heroic comeback.
Sure.
And you know what? South Carolina last week.
And you can make an argument, well, that's what championship teams do. But at the same time, their SEC schedule right now has 11 wins total. Out of the seven teams that they've played, they have 11 wins total. And that's not good. Like, it's a lot. They have a couple of beating a couple teams that are 1 losses in conference play, or only 1 loss or 1 win in conference play, South Carolina included in that. Like, South Carolina's 3-7. And the interesting thing about that is that that's actually one of the better teams that they've played on their schedule.
It's true, and I think another team, and I didn't want to just say the entire ranking. I focused my question around the 2-loss teams, but another team that I've got issue with that is just clearly ahead of BYU is Oregon. Oregon, their best win is 6-4 Iowa. BYU's best win is against Utah. It's the number 12 team in the country. BYU's second best win, 7-3 Arizona, as Yurachek noted. What's the second best win for Oregon? 6-4 Minnesota?
Right. And or maybe, I guess it would be the Iowa win, right?
And then they lost at home, which I think has to be more impactful than a loss on the road. You lost at home to number 2 Indiana as the favorite, while BYU lost to number 5 Texas Tech in their stadium in Lubbock in a historic game that had just massive stakes, biggest game in 20 years almost. I mean, Oregon to me is just living off its image and what they get in the star rankings, and that they pass the eye test sort of deal for the committee, whereas I think BYU's got better metrics than them. I think with Notre Dame, BYU's got a better strength of schedule according to ESPN strength of schedule metrics, yet it feels like BYU can't come close to Notre Dame in terms of the rankings. So it's a difficult job, but I just feel like, man, if BYU loses by 10, are they suddenly up in front of these 2-loss teams? I don't think they would have been.
No, and I wonder too if you're right, if it was a 1-score game down there, and frankly, if BYU has a 1-score game in the Big 12 championship game, if they get there against Texas Tech, does that change? Because then does that change your argument? Does that say, oh no, but they had a way better showing in the conference championship game on a quote unquote neutral field in the conference championship game? I don't know, or is it just going to take them winning? Because if they don't win, and if Utah were able to sneak into the Big 12 championship game and they won that thing, obviously they go. But does Texas Tech at that point fall down further out of it? You know what I mean? And again, they'd be a 2-loss team at that point to an Arizona State team that the committee would go, well, an unranked Arizona State team. If at that point they've maybe lost their 4th game of the year, whatever. So the argument back and forth, it just feels like a setup to where they can get these teams to be what they want them to be, which is, hey, in the end, Mitch, it's unfortunate because in the end, they're putting together a reality TV show for the best ratings. That's what you're looking for, right?
Well, and that's, to me, what's frustrating about the playoff is that I think what I would love to see, and it won't happen because ESPN loves the dialogue, the ratings that come with this. I wish they would take a page from the NCAA, the playoff, and do a teaser of the rankings, that first installment 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Release that. But then do not release another ranking until Selection Sunday. Because then I think it would be, I don't want to say easier, but if you're the committee, you can then make an argument for, BYU doesn't have to play these gymnastics where it's like you go from 7, you lose to Texas Tech, a good Texas Tech team, and then plummet down to 12. You don't have to play that game. You just let the season play out. You started at 7, and then let all the games play out. And then I think there's a greater argument and path for these Big 12 teams to actually make it to the playoff. But now, after dropping BYU 5 spots after looking poorly against Texas Tech, which in the moment, I think you can make an argument for that. But now, after they bounce back and have a 44-13 win over a bowl-eligible TCU team, that's got to matter too. But it really didn't have any sort of impact. It just simply was, well, Texas got hammered by Georgia, so you had to move up 1 spot by default. That's all it was. Whereas if Texas, a 3-loss team, they get hammered by Georgia, if they had a closer game, they're probably still within distance of BYU and Utah.
Here's the deal. There is a lot of football left to be played yet, which is good. I think that's good news. That means there's equal opportunity for teams to impress and other teams to absolutely embarrass themselves and make the committee look foolish for making, these. But every committee every year has a little bit of a personality you have to kind of figure out along the way during the rankings to go, okay, they've acted like this the whole time. Are they going to continue to act like this? And we'll see. Yet to be seen. But again, way too much football in front of us to feel like everything is totally done.
Here's my recommendation before we get to a break for Brett Yormark. Just tell Texas Tech, hey, sit out. Don't go to Arlington. You sit 11-1. Just sit out. And then BYU and Utah duke it out in Arlington.
Right, and then are you going to keep Texas Tech out of it? Well, they didn't play in the conference. And then Notre Dame's over there going, what?
That's what I would do.
Because there's going to be a big there's going to be a big you know what? I love the idea. They're all, hey, by the way, thanks for earning yourself into the will you take a hit this week? We'll give you a trophy, like a participation Big 12 trophy that we'll send to Lubbock. I know that you want to win the Big 12 championship, but we need to get more teams in this thing, which is wild. This is another thing, and again, this is another conversation we can have another day, but stop giving all the money equally to the conferences for these appearances. We would have a lot less of this like, well, I'm a big SEC fan. Nick Saban doing the whole, I'm a homer for the SEC. Don't have Big 10 or Big 12 or anybody cheering for their conference. We wouldn't have these conversations if you're just making sure that your team got in and you got all that money by yourself.
Yeah, great point.
Let's freaking do it. I don't want to have to share it all with Iowa State or Iowa if you're in the Big 10 or Rutgers if you're in the freaking Big 10. All right, we'll take a break. We'll come back. We still got more to talk about. We've got a whole hour left here for you on First and 12 right here. Stay with us. Mitch, Harper, Alex, Kirry right here on 102.7 FM and 1160 AM. It is KSL News Radio.